And I really appreciate y'all being here. Just an incredible moment for me to be here. Just an incredible moment for me to be here with you guys. It's just, I feel so blessed to be able to share this story with people that understand it, people that have been there, done it in different places, different regions. And it's just for us, I think it's what we do. We're Green Berets, we do what we need to do to take care of business. To be honest with you, the whole horse soldier thing didn't really resonate with me. I didn't really understand what the big deal was. And I'm sure y'all don't either as Green Berets, because that's what we do. It wasn't until later when people really gravitated toward the story that it affected people differently than it did me and the fellas that I'm going to talk about. I'm really not going to talk about me a lot. I'm going to talk about them a lot. The fellas that I had the most awesome responsibility to lead into combat. The fellas that trusted me to make those hard decisions to bring them out of combat alive and to win the fight every single day in Afghanistan in 01 and 02. But before I do that, there's a few folks I'd like to thank specifically for being here, and that's the spouses. So the spouses, Berets, please stand up and let me recognize. Sisters, brothers, everybody that's part of supporting us. Thank you so much. Again, it's something I know that we never took for granted, but when I went in 01, a little known kind of fact was we never had orders to come home. So we only had orders going to Afghanistan. So we really couldn't tell our wives, our families when we were coming back, which was kind of interesting because, back then we didn't have cell phones. We were still using, our radios to communicate to hire. And say it again?
Phone patch,
HF phone patch. Never was able to talk to the family back home, but we were able to get messages back home and tell them we're fine, but it was delayed by months. And so, understanding that the families back home really not knowing when we were coming home what they were going through, and then, just like we all know, things happen on the battlefield, people don't make it, and they start hearing of some of the battlefield injuries and deaths that happened, became more and more significant to our family members back home. So thank you very much for everything you do to support us. Absolutely unbelievable. I'd like to make this a little less formal and not so much lecture. So if you have something, you have a question, or you want to tell a story with me, then jump on it. Let's do it together. Let's make this ride together. Kind of enjoy the time that we have here to talk about what it was like going into Afghanistan in 2001. So just like in the movie, 12 strong, we were out conducting waterborne operations in the Cumberland River when we got the call that something happened on 9/11. Got the call, RTB went back to base, everybody started kitting up, but we had a weird moment where nobody knew what was going on. So the command's decision was, let's keep going with what we're doing. Let's keep going with the JSETs, which was the foreign internal defense missions that we were having, that we continued in Africa and the Middle East with 5th Group. As a matter of fact, I had just taken command of Charlie 1-5 when this happened. I think we probably had about a 70% turnover that summer with personnel when this happened in 9/11. Our group commander was new, Colonel Mulholland. If y'all know him, John Mulholland, we didn't know him. 5th Group guys did not know John Mulholland. who was this new, group commander that stood about 7 feet 3 inches. The guy was huge. So we didn't know what his decision making was like. As officers, as enlisted, it affected all of us going into how are we going to prepare for Afghanistan if we get the call, because we really didn't know. Well, I remember we had a command and staff meeting with the battalion commander, and he was going through all the things that we were doing all over the world. And I was like, sir, I don't think Charlie Company's gonna do that right now. I think we're gonna prepare for war. And I just had that feeling that there was just something unsettling about this, that we cannot do business as usual. So you can imagine the flack I got by saying something like that. But behind the scenes, I told the fellas, I'm like, look, get every range you can, get every bullet you can, and start shooting, moving, and communicating. Because I guarantee you, if this happens, we're all going to war. They bought into it right away. Next thing I know, they had pissed off everybody at Fort Campbell. We had owned every range. Charlie Company had owned every range and gotten hold of every bullet from every battalion. But that was the seriousness of the fellas, they just knew too. They just followed that lead. They're like, yes, we're all in on this. And we all wanted retribution. There is nobody that didn't want retribution for what happened on 9/11. Everybody wanted to be the first ones on the ground. There was not a single one of us, I'm sure, that's sitting in here that didn't think, no matter how old you are or what era you served as a Green Beret, you wanted retribution. We were just fortunate enough to be those guys. And it was kind of strange because we're in Fort Campbell and all of a sudden the group commander goes missing. And everybody knows it, right? You can't keep a secret among Green Berets. I mean, you just can't. I mean, the rumor mill is just unbelievable, right? I mean, there was this one time I was rumored to have been shot in the back. It's like, no, I got a shot in the back for a muscle relaxer. It was a Toradol. The word "a" was pretty operative in that sentence, right? Shot in the back. Okay. So then our battalion commander goes missing. So we're like, okay, something. The majors and the captains are all now scheming. There's no higher headquarters. We got this. This now, the group belongs to us, so we start scheming. Which is what we're supposed to do as Green Berets, right? I mean, y'all would be pretty disappointed in me if I told you otherwise, wouldn't you? So we did. We started scheming. We started doing everything. We started pulling weapons from all over the place. I don't know where my team weapons guy, Al Knox, came up with some of the weapons that he came up with. But he scoured Fort Campbell. He had just near about every form of weapon you could think of in the arms room that didn't belong to us. No, it kind of did then, right? So they were doing it. They were getting ready. And they came back. The commander came back, and things started happening really quick. And the first order was, put your teams in isolation. Okay, so we did. And then it was like, okay, but they have to be 12-man teams. And I tell you this because it really rubbed us wrong. I mean, think about it. We never had 12-man teams, right? We operated with how many guys? 8, 10. Some teams didn't have team leaders. We had warrants or team sergeants, right? Now they wanted 12-man teams. What does that mean? We had to break up teams. Talking about some pissed off fellas. We were not happy about breaking up the teams. And at the time, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't happy either, but I carried the water for the command because that's what I'm supposed to do, and I did want to get this right. But looking back on it, it was the right decision. It was a tough decision to make. I talked to John Mulholland later, years later, And you know, the anguish that he went through to that one simple decision to go to 12 teams was quite significant. And I'm going to tell you why here in a second, why it was so important to do that. We're in isolation. The first isolation we go to is Fort Campbell. All we know is we're going to conduct UW operations, unconventional warfare, somewhere in Afghanistan. What are you going to need? Well, why would you ever ask a Green Beret what he would ever need? That was the craziest question we have ever heard. But since you asked, we need a lot of shit, because we haven't had anything in a while. So the guys are coming up with all kinds of stuff, and we actually ended up with anything we asked for. We got actually Toyota trucks sent to us from Nashville into Fort Campbell. Brand spanking new. What do you think those fellas did to those brand spanking new Toyota Tundra trucks? Sir, we're gonna have to modify these trucks a little bit. We're gonna start with the baseball bat and sandpaper and rocks, and they tore up those trucks. And I just couldn't believe it. But we had to, because they had to do what? We had to blend in. We had to fit in. Those trucks stood out. That's what we were taught to do. That's everything we were taught to do mentally in being a Green Beret, in training, in how we operate together, was put into effect right then and there. It was unreal to watch those fellas do that. The thinking is it is absolutely what's different from us and anybody else in the world. I'm convinced of it. And y'all too, because I know y'all have worked with people all over the world just as I have, and that is the biggest difference. So that was the first isolation. Then the second one was when we got to Carnival in Uzbekistan. Who knew it was a former Soviet nuclear power plant thingy that we were living on, and people were like radiating and shit. We didn't care. But it was, we just got the best thing we could. We got that. And that was our second isolation. So we went into isolation. My guys, 4 other A teams, went into isolation. We isolated to go to host or Kaust, Afghanistan, to conduct UW. Link up with a warlord, conduct UW, kill Al-Qaeda, kill the Taliban, and restore democracy. We're all like, hell yeah, let's go. Not a single person balked at that. And let's start with growing some beards. Why not? Let's start looking like the Indians. And to the credit of our command, they were absolutely okay with that. Nobody talked about that horse thing yet, right? We're still thinking trucks and walking, and we're going to be fine with UW. Kind of an interesting thing starts happening, though, is we start hearing, and I didn't really realize it, but we start hearing about this OGA thing, other government agency. It's like, what is that? Like, who are they? Why are they here? Don't worry about it. You get downrange, you link up with them, you'll figure it out. Not a good thing to be heard here in isolation, But okay, so we did our planning. We get ready to go. We're right at the infiltration point. The fellas are getting on the helicopter. We're going to fly over the Hindu Kush Mountains. We're going to drop down into Kaust, and we're just going to be badasses. And the commander, John Mullah, comes up and he goes, "Hey, Perry, change of mission. You guys are going to Kandahar, and you're going to work for Commodore Harwood, and you're going to be in Task Force K-Bar." Sir, we didn't even plan for that. I know, but you'll figure it out. So very disappointed at that moment because we literally was looking forward to going into Cows. So change of mission, right there, our third kind of quick isolation huddle, told the fellas what's up, got on the helicopters, and off we flew. And I want y'all to fly with me for a minute and imagine being on the helicopter with these courageous, brave freedom fighters that are just born to do this. This is their life. This is your life. You're right there with them. Everything historically that brought us to be a Green Beret at that moment was all the folks in this room. Everything that we did presently are the folks in this room. Everything afterwards are you guys. So think of us going in those helicopters. And we start inching up the Hindu Kush mountains, and I'm of course on the headset with the pilots, making sure everything goes well, and I'm looking across and truly feeling blessed as an American, as a human, as an officer, to be with these incredible men. And I'm looking out over there, steely-eyed killers, and I'm like, they're all sleeping. Am I the only one nervous about this right now? Am I the only one that has butterflies? Y'all aren't even worried about me? But that's just us, right? Calm, cool, collected. And it's freezing in that helicopter. And the fellas are just... So when we finally get over the Hindu Kush Mountains, it's black as night. We hit Kandahar, and we get into Kandahar, and we link up, and we do our job there. It wasn't too long after that, now this is not 595, we're a little different. I should stop and say this real quick, with the Horse Soldier, the 12 strong story, 595, it's a compilation of all the things that we all did in Afghanistan that put into their story that makes it so great to watch. And it really is. There's a lot of good things in that movie. Certainly the relationship between the warlord and the commander, spot on. Did Perry Blackburn and his fellas assault a tank on horseback? No, I didn't do that. I figured that wasn't probably good for us. But it was, God bless him for doing it. It was unbelievable. So we're in Kandahar, and I get another mission. You're going back to Cows. You're gonna link up with this OGA guy again. I'm like, well, who is OGA? Like, who is the guy, right? So I want to know, like, who is that dude? And they don't know, but when you get there, you'll know. So we know now that it's CIA guys with other folks that are part of it. I don't want to get too deep into it, but how many first group guys are here?
Hey, Paris, can I ask you about Big Chat?
That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. Do you mind
What?
if I talk about it?
Yeah.
All right. I did not know that part of the OGA was Special Forces guys. And so we were going in to link up in Cows with OGA, and it was not a good day to be a Green Beret. And it's never a good day when you lose people, regardless if they're injured or they're KI. And I didn't know, again, we didn't know the fellas in the OGA. it was not something well known. They were trying to be secret, and I guess we were trying to be secret. Who knows? You know, it just didn't. The whole planning didn't work out at that time to understand better who we all were. Why is that important? I'll tell you why it's important, because within 24 hours on the ground, as we're moving into Coust, our OGA pilot team gets ambushed. And as we're coming up to link up with them, it's just like what you would imagine in a real firefight. And so we're giving it to them, they're giving it to us, and we're using our training, we're enveloping the enemy and closing in on them, because that's what you do when you're in a near ambush, right? You assault into the ambush. The OGA guys were trying to assault, we were developing the situation, we got out of it and ended up in an old abandoned schoolhouse. And we had a couple of wounded. One of them was Nate Chapman. Nate was a first group guy. I did not know that. And so, I mean, there was nothing on him that described that he was a group guy. There was nothing on us that described that we were group guys. We all looked like we were civilians, like that. I mean, that's how we looked. When I found out that Nate was a group guy, I then felt compelled as a commander and being part of the military, that's my responsibility, not the agency. I know that you're with him. I know that he's with you guys as an agency guy, but he's our guy. He's a group guy, even though it's first group. God love him. Nobody else does. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. It's okay. My wife says that about me all the time. God love him because nobody else does. And I want to pause here. I want to ask y'all, what is it? Do you remember in training, and you're in a UW environment, what do we do with our folks that have been KI? What are we supposed to do? Does anybody remember? I remember this, it came to me I'm sorry, what? Who said that? Grades registration, 10-digit grid coordinate, send it up. I mean, we were all trained that way, right? Couldn't do that. Not gonna happen. So we were able to get Nate out with a CIA chopper and get him back to return back home. And it was a tough moment, right? Tough moment in time, but it just steeled our resolve. Like the fellas, it was unbelievable. They were so much more focused on the mission at hand because they knew that one of our own had fallen. Being our pilot team, being part of us. And I ended up naming Coust Chapman Army Airfield, and it lasted, I don't know, do y'all remember that? That name lasted until the damn 82nd Airborne took it over and named it some kind of bullshit name. But we always called it Chapman Army Airfield. We never did not do that. So we finally got on the ground and we started doing what we do as Green Berets. And what are we trying to do? Build a force, absolutely. And so we link up with this warlord. That's him right there, Kamal Khan. His brother's Pacha Khan. And his nemesis is Camille Khan. Bunch of Khans, they're all family, whatever. Well, Pacha Khan and Camille Khan were warriors. I mean, those dudes were, they were on it. I tried to get Pacha Khan more than once, and he got away. But my man here, And he was a pussy. I mean, I couldn't believe it. You linking me up with a warlord, and I'm thinking warlord. This guy's ready for battle. Man, this guy was everything but ready for battle. But one thing he did do was get me the 900 plus Muldoons that we raised for a fighting force, outfitted, equipped, and paid on a regular basis to go fight the Taliban and Al Qaeda with. So what was it like, actually doing our job once we raised those guys? Well, the first thing is I needed some money, because that's the first thing that they asked me for was money. So I'm like, we didn't really bring any money. We had an op fund, but it wasn't that big of an op fund. So next thing I know, this hind comes in, and they're like, hey, sir, they need to see you out there. And I'm like, okay. So I go out there, and the guy's got a kit bag, pushing it off the helicopter, and it lands at my feet, and he goes, here, sign this piece of paper. I'm like, hell no, I ain't signing no piece of paper. You think I just joined the army? I'm a major, by God. I'm a Green Beret. I ain't signing no piece of, what is in that bag? He's like, probably about $1 million in there. So I'm like, I got this money. I'll take this. I don't need to sign anything. But of course, he's like, look, I don't care what you do. Sign it, John Smith. Just sign this piece of paper. I'm like, dude, it's a notepad. Y'all don't have hand receipts in the agency? In the Army, we hand receipt everything. This watch I got on is freaking hand receipted. Okay, John Smith. If that's what it's gonna take, I literally put John Smith, grabbed the kit bag, took it to the fellas, and sat there and looked at it and go, it's not good. Who am I gonna trust to take this money? So we go through the money. It's actually $1.25 million. Like, they can't even count. And what's up with y'all? So the fellas are like, well, do we get the extra? Right? Because y'all are thinking the same thing. Don't say you ain't, brother. I saw you looking at me. I saw you going, what'd you do with that extra money? I know. Like, damn, no, y'all, look at the money. It's in sequential order. Like, there's actually a $100 bill, numbered 1. Come on, fellas, no. So that's not what we did. That's how we actually started building our force with that $1 million of taxpayer money in sequential $100 bills. And it didn't take long from there, and we started getting after it. And we developed a really close relationship with our close air support guys, Budweiser, and I was Cobra 5-6. And whenever I came up on the net, Budweiser, just Cobra 5-6, over. What do you need? I mean, right away. Now, what's interesting at this time that we have kind of forgotten, damn near forgot to say it, we didn't have maps that we're used to. We didn't have 1 over 50,000 maps. We didn't have GPS. Fellas, we had Russian maps in Russian. And I'm trying to drop bombs with Russian maps in Afghanistan and not get anybody hurt. Of course, we know Prosser, Predatory, and Davis, 3 great Americans from 5th Special Forces Group. That's exactly what happened to them up in the Kabul area when they were with Karzai. And it was, I believe, due to being unfamiliar with using Russian maps, trying to get a grid coordinate, and some other stuff that happened. So I was very cognizant of that. But that's what we started doing. We started using, and you can see, and I'll be honest with you, I don't remember how we got any of these pictures, because we didn't really have cameras there. But I have managed to find some of them fellas sent me. And that's my medic and my commo man, and we're calling in on that ridge line. Funny thing about that ridge line, that was a 3-day fight. And we kept pushing. We'd hit them, we'd envelop them, hit them, envelop them. And the next thing I know, my commander's like, hey, Cobra, this is Sharp. You need to get out of Pakistan. I'm like, Pakistan? Like, who's in Pakistan? I'm looking at you with a UAV, you're in Pakistan. He loves to tell this story too. Like, he thinks it's the greatest thing. It's like, eh. So I'm like, I don't really see the border. And then, of course, you know, I couldn't hear him over the radio. The radio, sure, you. So I'm like, hey, fellas, we need to move. And so our Afghans bring up these mongrel-looking animals, and they're like, "Oh, we will move with these." I said, "What the is these? These are our horses." No, we have dogs in the United States bigger than them. And who's riding these things? You. No. Do you want to get out? Yes, then get on the horse, okay. So it's like literally my leg, we're big, we're Americans, right? We're big dudes, we're muscular, we're freedom fighters, we're all good looking. I mean, I'm looking at you right now, I just met you, I'm like, that dude's good looking. And his sister's sitting right next to him, and she's beautiful. So that whole family is just awesome. And then just dream to raise attractive, good-looking people. Look at my wife, hell, she's great looking too. It's just and I'm like, we're on these little animals. They're not gonna make it. Them mongrel, strong animals, man. They got us anywhere we needed to go, and they like knew how to do it. They knew how to run the trail. Okay, runs a little much. Walk the trail and get us to where we need to go. Again, not that big of a deal. It's just that we needed to get out of where we're at and continue the operations. And in this fight, all of a sudden, it was like the good Lord opened up the heavens and was tired of the carnage that was happening. And it just started raining. And we were going through a wadi. Now, if you're not a fifth group guy, I'll explain to you what a wadi is. A wadi is an area that if it floods in the mountains, the water has a way to come through the area. And so in those areas, nobody lives in it. Nobody walks in it except for Americans. And they're fighting for us. Well, we just happen to be in a wadi trying to get out when the monsoon came. Next thing you know, it's a recovery operation. Because Afghans can't swim. Most of them knew it was coming. Like, they had this sixth sense, so they were rushing up on the hill, and we're like, where are they going? We're going this way, and then we're okay, everybody get up on the hill. So we get up there, and we're like fishing equipment out of the wadi, oh, there goes another Afghani, grab him. Most of us combat divers, so we were cool at doing that too. And so we got up there, and all of a sudden, there was this crack. And all I remember is I was on all fours and wondering how the enemy got behind us. How did I get shot? And my mouth was all metallic, and it tasted like blood. And I was really dry. My beard was sticking out, and I could smell something burning. And I was like, my God, how did this happen? And my senses were going overload, and in true Green Beret fashion, I could hear my commo man. And I'm trying to listen to him, and I kind of sit up a little bit. He's like, sir, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I don't know. I think so. That shit was awesome! What? You lit up like a Christmas tree! Look at the Jundies! They think you're a god! You gotta stand up! You gotta get up! I stand up, you know, and I'm like, and the fellow's like, behold, he lives! I mean, you can't make this shit up with the fellas. Guys, what if I wouldn't have got up? I would have stood up and said it was me. You know? It was a crazy moment in time on the battlefield that I love to share because it just shows you, again, how tight we are as a community, how tight we can be as a community. Sometimes we fracture ourselves, but we really, the power we have together is like nothing else. And to be with folks like y'all, to be able to share this cruise with y'all, to be able to share this story is just incredible. And it's again, it's our story. How much time do I got? Much as I need. Thank you. I'll just tell you this real quick story. So then we come back, and DJ, does anybody know DJ? He's my sergeant major. Man can talk like unbelievable. And Kofor Black comes in he's the head of the counterterrorism from CIA, and he wants to give us a message from George W. Bush, the president. And we're like, okay, yeah. So we were geeked, right? We just come up a big old fight, yeah. And so he wanted to know about it, you know? So we're all like, we're cacking dudes over here, and we're cacking dudes over there. And they didn't understand nothing that we were talking about. Like, what's a cacking dudes? So that ended up biting me. I got this. On the butt a little bit. But again, how do you tell folks that aren't in our world, right? That aren't us, that aren't our wives, that aren't our spouses, how do you tell them, you know, what you do? I think we kind of don't. But I do think we need to. And I think one guy that has kind of figured it out is Scott Mann. And I don't know if Scott's here, but that brother, y'all need to link up with him and have a conversation. He does a phenomenal job with a lot of stuff that he does with Green Berets and Special Forces to try to get that story out. And it's important because everything y'all have done is important to this world. I want to talk about this brother real quick. You know, we always talk about the next generation. Mike Tarlowski. Mike came from me from Fort Bragg, out of the Q course, to Fort Campbell, staying in a team room as a captain. 2 days later, he's in Uzbekistan. A couple days later, he's downrange with me in Afghanistan. Right out of the Q course. I mean, right, fresh green out of Q course. That guy was shit hot. I mean, unbelievable. They trained him like we've all been trained. I mean, just a great guy. I want to say that because Mike actually lost his life in Iraq a couple years later, doing some of the same stuff. But never did he hesitate. At one minute did he ever hesitate to close with and destroy the enemy. And so, in honor of him, I just wanted to let you all know that the generation that's coming up is not as bad as we think it is. That was a great generation. I had a chance to talk to the Q course guys last year, I think about 9 months ago. Great bunch of crop of guys coming up, fit, smart guys, very technically savvy. I mean, great Americans. My last operation was Operation Anaconda. Quickly, as we talk about what it's like when we're talking to higher command. So we're in, and this is actually that picture over here at the end. Oh, look, laser pointer. Who knew? Is me and during Anaconda, and there's like not much down below. I mean, it's pretty sheer cliff. And we are operating in caves, and we're using our indige. And but before any of that happened, I remember we were supposed to be there for 3 days in the Cheyenne Valley. And so most of everybody planned for 3 days. Fortunately, I had an indige of 900 people, so I had a good support system. The night before we were supposed to infill, things started getting weird, right? They always do. So we're getting ready to infill in the Cheyenne Valley. We are the first ones into the Cheyenne Valley. We're going in, we're gonna close up all the rat lines, and we're gonna start squeezing from the outside into the valley. But this isn't gonna be just Green Berets. Now we got the 101st, we got 10th Mountain, we got other guys. It's starting to feel different. It's not just us. It's just not just the brotherhood, right? The brotherhood is now allowing others, big army, to come in and do this fight. Now we had a rehearsal, we had a rock drill, everything else. It all kind of worked out. Everything looked good. Everything briefed well. Major Blackburn didn't screw up the briefing. Told them what we were gonna do. Everybody was happy. And then on the radio, I hear my battalion commander talking to Dagger 6, John Mulholland. And of course, you know, I listen into all of it. I have to. That's what we do, right? Get intel, see what's going on. And I remember Haas, Chris Haas. Y'all know Chris Haas? Another great American. Love that brother. And I love him more for saying this. He goes, just tell me we're not the main effort, and I'm okay with that. But you cannot tell me I'm the main effort and take away priority of fires. And that's an absolute true statement. So in essence, what happened was Special Forces was the main effort. When you're the main effort, you're supposed to get priority of air, priority of fires. You are the show in town. Everybody supports you. Well, that night, the 10th Mountain decided they were going to have priority of fires, but they weren't the main effort. You guys, SF guys, can still be the main effort, but we'll be the priority of fires. So this conversation goes on, and General Mulholland was telling now General Haas that, no, you're the main effort, you know, just do what you need to do. And he's like, well, what about Perry and his guys? I'm like, well, yeah, what about Perry and his guys? Are we gonna have air? He's like, don't worry about it, they'll have air. They're clear to go. And which was a good thing they said that, because we were like already in. And he didn't really know it at the time, but we kind of sneaked in there early with a lot of the Indians. So we went in, we're set up. Well, lo and behold, that next day, who we are, right? Coming in on horseback, coming in on vehicles, coming in with the indige. The 10th Mountain, 101st, thought we were the enemy. So what do you think happened? Yeah, we started getting hit. And we damn sure wasn't getting hit by the Afghans and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. So we had to work through that, and we did. The crazy thing about that, though, is that at the end of the day, when we got through Anaconda, which was supposed to be 3 days, it ended up being 2 weeks of just grueling, everyday warfighting. The enemy that we recovered on the battlefield, like just about every country came to fight with Afghanistan. Like, dudes I mean, even Americans. I mean, let's not forget John Walker Land. He showed up on the battlefield. And there was a couple other Americans. There was a lot of Chechens, Russians, no Ukrainians, but a lot of the former Soviet bloc guys joined up. And they found out real quick what it was like to meet with the United States Army Green Beret. Because we survived that fight and they didn't. And we won that fight in Anaconda. And it was a great testament, I think, to the men that I was blessed to be with. Because surely, when you're thinking about you're now fighting an enemy that's no longer just Afghanis, but there are other people from other countries, and you're navigating your own fight, guys shooting on you, not realizing who you are, and to just be steeled in their resolve was an incredible moment in time as a human being with a brotherhood. I was successful because of them. They weren't successful because of me. I remember every team guy I ever was with to this day, wherever we went. Chris Pitts is here. He was my medic at one time. And I know y'all do too, right? That's why we came on this cruise for a moment, to just kind of be with each other and reflect on it, right? And in that, when we came home and we were young, still, we don't look like we do now, except for like Roy Hash. I don't know if y'all know Roy, he's a fifth group guy. He looks exactly like he did when he was on the team. He didn't change a lick. But we came back and those same guys, these guys right here that were tearing it up in Afghanistan, came back, refit, and then did the Special Forces Operations Detachment Alpha Challenge and won. Like, just incredible feat for them to do that. And then I asked, so I had to ask myself when I retired in 2014, I'm asking y'all this, why did you become a Green Beret? I thought I became a Green Beret to do all the cool shit that I did. But I didn't realize until I retired why I became a Green Beret. I didn't realize all what the team guys gave me as a human being, as a leader, as a person. The challenges, the way they challenged me to be better every single day. Smarter every single day. Receptive to their ideas every single day. Understanding them every single day, whether I like it or not. I mean, let's face it. Nobody likes to be told they're wrong. And, those guys are changing a heartbeat. So that's fucked up. We gotta do something different. Well, why? 10 toes in. Tell me what's up. And that has inspired me in later in what I do now with having founded 2 nonprofits to help our Afghan partners that partnered with us shelter and feed them. Early on it was evacuating. I did that with Scott, Scott had Pineapple Express and I had Sanctuary. We were just working it together. We were not going to leave anybody behind, and particularly our American citizens, which 12,000 were left, more than 100. And I know that because we were working to get them out. I was able to do that because of y'all. I wouldn't have known how to do anything like that unless I was challenged, unless I had met people like you in this audience right here and now. I would have never been able to do it. I would have never been able to wear the same Harley hat that I rode in on in Afghanistan without you guys. without your influencing on me and my family and my way of life. So in closing, I want to read something to you. It's from a foreign soldier. And I think it really captures the essence of who we are. And I want you to, if you would, please, kind of reflect on this a little bit. And again, put yourself into it. And then I'm going to, if there's any questions, I'll answer afterwards. But God bless all of y'all. I love you. This is a soldier in Afghanistan. And he's writing this open letter. And you'll know soon who it's about. They have a terribly strong American accent. From our point of view, the language they speak is not even English. Whatever state they are from, no two accents are alike. Heavily built, fed at the earliest age with milk, Gatorade, proteins, and creatine. They are all head and shoulders taller than us, and their muscles remind us of Rambo. Hey, I used to be pretty muscular, guys. Relax. It's okay. Our frames are amusingly skinny to them. We are wimps, even the strongest of us. And because of that, they often mistake us of Afghans. And they are impressive warriors. We have not come across bad ones. As strange as it may seem to you when you know how critical French people can be, even if some of them are a bit on the heavy side, all of them provide us every day with lessons in infantry know-how. In combat, if you've seen Rambo, you've seen it all. Always coming to the rescue when one of our team guys get in trouble, and always in the shortest delay. That is one of their tricks. They switch from t-shirt and sandals to combat ready in minutes, arriving in contact with the enemy. And the way they fight is simple and disconcerting. They just charge. They disembark and assault in stride. They bomb first and ask questions later, which cuts out any pussyfooting. Honor, motherhood, everything here reminds of that. The American flag floating in the wind above the outpost, just like the one on the post parcels. Stamps, if you're from the South. Even if recruits often originate from the heart of American cities and gang territory, no one here has any goal other than to hold high and proud the Star-Spangled Banner. That's the legacy that you guys leave everywhere you go. Each man knows he can count on and the support of a whole people that provides him through the mail all that an American could miss in such a remote frontline location. Books, chewing gum, razor blades, Gatorade, toothpaste, etc. In such a way that every man is aware of how much the American people backs him in this difficult mission. And that is that first shock of our preconceptions. The American soldier is no individualist. The team, the group, the combat team are the focus of all his attention. If you find yourself in need of help, you better pray to God that an American answers the call. For their response is swift and direct. Hold on, brother. We'll be right there. God bless y'all. Thank you so much for coming.